I'm ranking the best and some of the worst Google Ads strategies I've come across and used myself over the last 8 years, which I've been on the Google Ads platform today. And stick with me until the end of this video, because by the end, you will have a very clear idea of the current Google Ads strategy you're implementing right now for your own brand, whether it's a good strategy for you or whether it's an outdated bad strategy for you. But with that being said, let's start off with one of the main and sort of core fundamental strategies of all e-commerce brands I believe that exist out there. This is the branded search campaign strategy. Personally, this is the A-tier strategy for me. And I know it gets so much hate because basically branded campaigns are essentially retargeting the people that were technically going to buy from you anyways. I do personally believe there's still a place and situation for brand search campaigns to be in your overall ecosystem. But the problem is most brands get it wrong, and as a result, their entire Google Ads approach becomes this sort of big money grab where Google is just charging you high CPCs for brand search campaigns. There are benefits to running a brand search campaign if you do it the right way, from preventing your competition from coming in and stealing your traffic. For example, if you run the brand Nike, then if somebody types in Nike shoes, obviously you want your own brand to be appearing for all of the search results, which is where a brand search campaign shines the best, especially if you have a lot of competition. On the other hand, if you haven't put in as much time, effort, and energy into organic SEO, then in that situation, having a branded search campaign can basically push all of that unsatisfactory work on SEO to the side, because now you're basically paying to bid for this keyword. And the key here is to limit your bids, limit your budgets to the point where only 10% to 20% of your overall total budget is going towards branded search and everything else is going towards cold traffic acquisition. There is no other correct way to use branded except in this manner. And if you do it this way, this classifies as an A-tier ad strategy for you. But second strategy I've used myself is the performance max campaigns based on similarities approach. This is an S-tier strategy. And in simple words, this is one of the best smart bidding based campaign strategies you could use. In fact, this is the main strategy we use for a lot of the brands that we handle Google Ads for under my agency, Yoru Marketing, which, for example, these brands spend anywhere between $100,000 to $500,000 a month and generate no less than $1 million a month in revenue, as we see right here. And the overall strategy is, of course, a mixture of different campaign types, but specifically looking at performance max campaigns based on similarities. There's no other better way you could be running a PMax, because the more similarities you provide to a PMax, the better it can do the targeting and the better it can shine, because now you made the algorithm's life easier and it has a much easier pathway to reaching your perfect customer. But that can only happen if you put in the inputs which are similar to each other, which this strategy entails. But the third main strategy, which is running campaigns with multiple goals, for example, running a performance max campaign going after conversions, phone calls, add to carts, this is what I call an F-tier strategy. One of the worst things you can do, and in fact, I recommend you do a complete audit of your Google Ads strategy right now to make sure that you don't have multiple different campaigns and approaches where they're going after multiple conversion events, which, by the way, if you run a brand making $50,000 a month or more in revenue, you would rather have us do a Google Ads audit for your brand, find all the potential problems, solutions, and show you a plan on how you can scale to the next level. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description below to directly schedule a call with me, and let's see how we can make that happen for your brand. But at any given time, the correct way to run a campaign, whether it be a PMax, shopping, search, besides the point, is to have only one conversion event and one conversion goal firing at any given time. If you have multiple events firing or multiple goals for whatever reason, that is what I classify a F-tier strategy. Fourth strategy on the list is manipulating the algorithm through product feed optimizations. S-tier strategy, one of the best things you can do if you like profits and if you don't want to just bid high or spend more money to win the auctions. And to kind of illustrate this, I'm going to give you a secret formula which I personally use to scale all of these brands we work with. It's called the quality score formula, which stands for ad relevancy, expected CTRs, plus bids plus budget. You basically add all of these four things together and you get this quality score, which is a number between 1 to 10, which we cannot unfortunately see on our surface level Google Ads dashboard. However, based on your results, based on the profitability, CTRs, you should have a good general idea of whether your quality score is high or low. But the two parts of this equation we want to avoid or touch last are, of course, bids and budgets, because you don't want to overspend money to get more money back. You would rather control different aspects, and manipulating building the algorithm through the product feed is an S tier strategy because it allows you to do exactly that. But next strategy on the list is SKAGs. For those of you that don't know, SKAG stands for single keyword ad group strategy, where basically you have a search campaign running with multiple different ad groups, and each ad group goes after a single keyword, whether it be going after exactly that keyword or in a manner where it's targeting broad match for that, phrase match, etc., but just going after one major keyword. This is something that I personally used to recommend back in the day, if you look at my old videos, extensively. And prior to the smart bidding era, prior to the AI automation and AI boom era, this was the perfect approach to go. But right now, it is a D tier strategy simply because you are taking away more control from Google, and as a result, Google favors your competition because your competition is relying more on PMAX, on automated bidding, because that's how Google makes more money. So in essence, if you want your campaigns to perform profitably, you need to get the algorithm on your side and you need to run a strategy which the algorithm wants you to run, which in most situations gives some of your control away to the algorithm. Sounds a bit counterintuitive, but right now that's exactly what's working right now. But that brings us to the next strategy on the list, standard shopping running alongside performance max campaigns. Again, this is a beautiful example of a brand right now which we are doing this exactly for. We have a lot of brands we do this for, but this is an A tier strategy. And the reason why it's an A tier strategy is simply because not all brands do well with shopping placements or standard shopping campaigns, which is why in some situations you might be better off just running a performance max campaign. But if you're not sure if this is the right approach for you or not yet, I highly recommend you go inside your current Google Ads strategy and run a standard shopping campaign with similar bidding structure as whatever you have going on right now. Just run it alongside and let it A/B test to tell you whether a standard shopping approach is better for your situation or whether it's a performance max campaign approach that is better. But speaking of performance max, next campaign strategy is the performance max campaign full build approach. And the perfect example of this full build approach is essentially this automotive brand which we are working with right now. As we can see right here, we basically do about 400,000 to 500,000 a month for them at a very decent ROAS. If we look over on the left hand side, we can see the cost is $51,000 in total. The ROAS is a 12x. This is not fake numbers, no conversion tracking errors, pure cold traffic acquisition. But the great example of a performance max campaign running with the full build approach is this one right here. For security reasons, you cannot see everything, but full build essentially means providing Google with as many top-notch assets as possible, images, videos, headlines, logos, descriptions, etc., along with some signals which have historically proven to work for your brand. So if you don't even know what's historically proven to work, you need to first get some A/B testing in place. I have a lot of videos on my channel that covers that. But once you have a general idea, then just giving one performance max campaign as the group approach, just running it with everything combined that's the best performer is the best way to go. Essentially why we are running this campaign right now at an 8.66x ROAS at scale. And this is because the full build strategy is an A tier strategy only if you've done proper A/B testing. Again, for a lot of brands, the reason why it's not an S tier is because for a lot of brands, PMAX with assets might not just work because maybe your brand is in the skincare industry or maybe your brand sells something in the gray area niche where you have a lot of policy violations. In that situation, a full build approach might not be the best use of your money. Next strategy on the list is the target CPA smart bidding focus campaign. And essentially what this campaign strategy is if you go inside the settings of your campaign right now, whether it be a performance max or shopping campaign or even search, and you want to look at what the bidding says right here. Is it on maximize conversion value or is it on conversions right now, which means you can set a target CPA. I classify the target CPA option more on the lower level of B tier simply because this strategy has a set level of brands and industries and niches it works well with. For example, going after target CPA means you're optimizing for a lot of volume, a lot of conversions, which often more than not, if you have a product, let's say that's $10 or $15, and at the same time, you have a product in that campaign that's $500, more often than not, Google will prefer the $10 product because maximizing conversions means getting a lot of volume of orders. And more often than not, the lower AOV product is easier to sell than a high AOV product. So this is better off for a brand that's subscription focused, that has a high LTV, because that means you can focus on more volume upfront, even at a loss, even at a lower AOV, because you know you're going to get a lot of recurring customers down the line. But otherwise, it's a B-tier strategy because for most brands, this is not something that we recommend. Next campaign strategy, performance max campaigns without any sorts of exclusions. F tier strategy, one of the worst things you could implement right now. And unfortunately, 7 out of 10 brands we audit under my agency are running without any sorts of exclusions, just letting the PMAX run. It's like basically you giving Google money and you're like, hey Google, here's my money, just find something that works for me. I don't know what it's gonna be, but just find something that works. That's exactly how you approach the PMAX when you do that. And the thing is, for Performance Max to work, which by the way, works great with a set approach with some guardrails and barriers in place, with no exclusions, with just letting the Performance Max campaign run, more often than not, it will go out and try to find you more retargeting traffic, more branded traffic. This is why when you go inside your Performance Max campaign and look at the overall search terms, you might end up seeing a lot of branded sales, or the top sales are coming from your own brand keyword. This is a red flag and something you need to be full on aware of, because this means you're just doing retargeting with campaigns that are supposed to be doing cold traffic acquisition. I see this so often. An easy test for you to find out if this is your situation or not, go on over to campaigns, to your main campaign, whether it's PMAX or standard shopping, go to search terms and look at the top 5 to top 10 keywords ranking. If it's your own brand name, you better fire your marketing team and work with us and schedule a call directly with me. Again, link in the description below. But moving on to the next strategy, dynamic search campaigns, dynamic search ads. This is an A tier strategy, but it's only A tier because number one, this lives off of the fact that you don't have too many SKUs, too many different collections, sub collections, etc. Because the thing is, with a dynamic search campaign, it will basically go inside your campaigns dashboard and go after all of the specific collections you currently have running at this point of time. And the perfect example of this is actually this brand right here, which we are working with. This is the $1 million brand I was showing at the start of this video. This is a dynamic search campaign running at the moment. It's running at an 8.26x ROAS. It's doing great, but the thing is, with this automotive industry brand, we do have a lot of specific sub collections. As you can see, we used to test different sub collection focus approaches for it, but what we did is we just found out there's giving all major collections or just links to those collections, specifically the category equals approach, and just letting Google's algorithm go after each individual collection, considering that you have less than 300 different categories. This brand is on the verge, that's 275. Google, more often than not, will find the winning collection and it will spend more money on that over time. That's the main kind of gist of how dynamic search works, and it works great, which is why it's A tier. The only reason it's not S tier is because more often than not, it might require you to spend a little bit more money, go beyond your normal budget levels until it finds a working category. But if your product feed is on point, if your landing pages are well optimized and it's a well-oiled machine, this should happen very, very quickly. And once the momentum gains, it gains very rapidly. But next strategy, demand gen for retargeting. S tier strategy. Every single brand should be running demand gen for retargeting specifically. No exceptions, whether it be an automotive industry or fashion brand or a skincare brand. Retargeting with demand gen is the easiest fruit you can pick off of a tree right now, because chances are high you're already scaling with meta ads. Maybe you have some winning creatives over there, and it's as simple as just running those same meta ads creatives on Google. Whether it's of course better if you do have a retargeting focused meta ad creative you're using on Google, but just starting a demand gen strategy in this situation, and then from there choosing the specific audiences which you want to target, which are only focused on retargeting specifically. That's the only way to do it, and that's the right way to do it. For example, this brand right here, we do have multiple demand gen campaigns running at this point of time, and a lot of these campaigns are focused on retargeting along with also cold traffic prospecting, which is where you want to eventually end towards. But with that, next campaign strategy, competitor targeting. So essentially what this means is, if you run the brand Nike, but then you want to target your competition Adidas, for example, you would run a competitor search campaign which literally targets the keyword Adidas. So if somebody types in Adidas shoe, so instead of their brand ranking here, for example, it would be your brand Nike ranking here for these search keywords. This is sort of in the middle portion. That's why I will rank this as a C tier strategy, because I have seen this work extremely well. We've had situations where this is actually the main campaign that we are scaling, but 9 times out of 10, this is not going to be a profitable campaign for you, and you might as well use that money and that ad spend on another more profitable approach for you. And second, there are situations where, for example, if you target bigger brand keywords like Adidas, Nikes, it could lead to potential lawsuits, which makes this a C tier strategy. Second to last strategy on the list is a YouTube prospecting campaign. This is a S tier strategy because nowadays we're scaling a lot of brands specifically focused on YouTube prospecting. So these two campaigns right here are full on focused on YouTube. On the front end, they're running at a 2x ROAS, but on the back end, they're driving something called a view through conversion. So if we look right here, view through conversion column, these have the biggest and highest level of view through conversions compared to any other campaign we have running at the moment, purely because this is driving people onto Google, onto different search platforms, or onto different placements to then research about the specific product we're selling, or even to research about the brand, which these other campaigns can then go in and steal the sale back. Very powerful approach. It works as an ecosystem. You don't want to necessarily just focus on the front end ROAS for YouTube, because that could be a mistake. You would rather focus on view through conversions. But with that, final strategy on the list, which I've used and I've seen a lot of brands use, is the manual bidding strategy. Maximize clicks, manual CPC. The good old days is when that used to work the best, but right now it's a D-tier strategy because you take away a lot of the valuable control Google wants from you. And trust me when I say this, Google is a lot smarter than you are or I am when it comes to understanding what the real bid should be. So although it can seem a bit smarter to control your bids, especially if you're just getting the ball rolling, if you're just starting to gain some momentum, it's actually counterintuitive to your overall scale, because you want Google to be the one deciding that from your product feed strategy, your overall landing page experience, and everything in between. But again, if you run a brand making $50,000 a month or more in revenue, you would rather get some help scaling your brand profitably and consistently to the next level with Google Ads. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the first link in the description below to directly schedule a call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together to make all of this happen.